Back in LA, which team won the draft? I will tell you. 3 days in the books, a million rounds in the books. What does it mean for the Diegos of the world? Which team improved the most? Who do I have question marks on? Who am I raising my plastered on eyebrows at on this Monday? We will chat with a guy who has all of the answers. Fox Sports lead college football and draft analyst Joel Klatt here to break down every angle. Really fun draft weekend. It was. I left on Saturday, Hamilton. You didn't get to go at all. We're going to have to correct that in some grand fashion. It's not the up and atoms we wanted to see. We wanted to see us on the ground view of the stage. We will get back there, of course, but big thanks to FanDuel for supporting all of our efforts, our amazing bookers trying to get some of these guys. It's very fun to watch. You know, like the guys that we knew, that we've become friends with even over Zoom throughout the draft process, walking across the stage, the Fanos of the world. And then the guys I got to meet up close in person, like the Reuben Baines, which we'll get to here in a second, and loving all of that. Super, super fun. Yeah, we had 24 prospects on the show. You counted.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, 21 selected in the draft. And all of them landed with teams. And you tweeted an interview. How come you liked that Chiefs pick so much?
Peter Woods was just a unique personality. I thought that was an interview that really stuck out to me a ton. I thought you did a great job with him as well. So I wanted to put that out there for Chiefs fans to get to know him a little bit better, because there's one thing, the on the field side of it, which we got into there too, which, you know, he talks about Chris Jones and all of that, and now he gets to play alongside him. But there's the personality side of it too, and he's one of these guys that's going to be really hard not to root for at the next level. He is an incredible personality.
There are a lot of NFL players, quarterback being Tyler Shuck, like you, they wake up so happy after a draft like this, right? Even like the Broncos, I feel like you, Cal, and I were texting over the weekend, like, man, that psychopath just keeps adding like little like new toys, right? To his toy box that he can impose. So there's a lot of people who woke up super, super happy, but we decided as a team, with you sort of laying down your thoughts here, and we will have Joel Klatt and see what he thinks. There are 3 teams that we think really crush it. Not just 3 teams, but if we had to pick the 3 squads that we really think are like the happy little clams this week and going into OTAs and stuff, it's hard not to go with the guy who should be at the top of these lists. Is the dog? That dog, that dirty dog. Was I drunk all last week? So I was watching back some clips, and I'm like, are you drunk the way I was like speaking about things? But yeah, we got to start with the Eagles. If we're talking about who won the draft, it's hard not to say it was that situation with Mekhi Lemon, of course. And we like to spread love around the show, but like you have to talk about them, because Howie makes you talk about him. Nobody did better at GMing, I don't think, in the 2026 draft than that dirty dog. It's hard enough to build a contending roster in this league. It is what's even harder is this idea of maintaining a contending one year in, year out, planning for the future, drafting for the window, winning now. Hath Howie not cracketh the code? He has. He's so creative in ways of finding this roster. I could never. I think other people could never. It's year in, year out. If the Lemon heist wasn't enough, Howie pulled off another surprise trade on Friday night. Jonathan Grenard. That trade was crazy, and the Eagles once again loaded with pass rushing options. It's how you win Super Bowls, and Grenard could end up being that piece. Can't you just see the play that gets this, you know, in a big game that gets them into the Super Bowl, and another one where he wins it? They also landed Eli Stowers, a tight end from Vandy. He's going to be an explosive weapon in the passing game. They're always doing weird, tricky stuff with tight ends. They got 6'9", 346-pound tackle Markel Bell. Mailata together, that's a pretty hefty, that is a size husky. If you're at Kohl's buying back to school shopping, that is a husky, large tackle tandem as far as football is concerned. And I love that Howie snagged Uar Bernard. Did I get that right, Hamilton? I'm going to play that.
Yeah.
Uar.
Yep.
Okay, and this is a 7th rounder. What can you tell me about this international pathway, star Ham?
Yeah, so his testing numbers at the International Pathway Combine, he's one of the most athletic defensive tackle prospects literally of all time. Obviously hasn't really gotten on the field as much, and he's going to be a little bit of a project, but much like Jordan Mailata was when they took him back in 2018. So you get the raw athleticism, the intangibles, and everything that he has to offer. I think this is going to be a player the Eagles can develop and be excited about, just like Jordan was.
We should do something maybe later this week and just giving the love for the like those later rounds were full of international picks as that continues and sort of catalyzes even more. And as though, you know, like that's a Howie thing. That is a sick pup Howie thing where he's like, sure, he's capitalizing on the availability of more guys doing his, you know, he's just watching like internet, like he's in that zone as Mailata was maybe the best example that we have of that, like panning out, and then he's just going back to the well and finding his other guys, and Uar, Bernard, who we love. And listen, I know the A.J. Brown situation is still paramount. I don't love that about what's going on, that stuff getting out, him having to even address it. I don't like that stuff. And, you know, trading him away, it will not be easy to overcome, and only time will tell. But with what he's done in the offseason, like, it's hard to say they won't be back in the NFC title picture. And if you look on FanDuel Sportsbook, where you should be looking, it's the best value on the board right now, right? Name a better value than the Eagles right now, getting the 5th longest odds to win the good old NFC and staying in the NFC. But let's head down south, down the coast to Tampa, because they got so much better this weekend. It's the 51st year of the Bucs. Maybe 51st year just makes more sense. You guys I've told you about how Baker needs to be in a corner. Baker needs to have people not believe in him, not tell him, oh, you got Mike Evans and Emeka, and you guys always win the division, so now you got... He needs people to doubt him, and they really, really did their thing. I don't think it's possible to do better than what Jason Light did this weekend. Let's take a look at the changes that were made. Ruben Bain at 15 overall. That's a home run. He would have been a home run on any team, any defense. That is a jump start for this pass rush. He landed... Mizzou linebacker Josiah Trotter, yes, of those Trotters in the second round to help fill the Levante David void that will be huge. So Trotter, as I understand it, like a tackling machine, makes a lot of plays, line of scrimmage, dynamo, all that. And then what did Light do? We got Miami nickel Keontae Scott in the 4th. And that's going to be one of the steals in the draft per my staff here on the morning call. And somebody that really will hopefully transform the secondary, which is needed. This is a guy who, like, a game breaker. Like, he'll win games for them. Like, absolute playmaker. When you look at what they were last year, 27th, I believe, against the pass a year ago. One player on the Buccaneers recorded more than 5 sacks. So Light now, he picked game breakers, playmakers, impact day one kind of guys to fix that. That's all. That's what I needed to see. He crushed it, and it will be very hard to overcome the loss in the whole, not even from an on-field, in locker room leadership perspective, Levante David and Mike Evans. That's not going to be easy, but I do feel like then it puts the onus on some of these guys that learned from them through the osmosis. Like Emeka knows what it's like to move and work like a Mike Evans, and now he's like, oh, I got this. Now it's my time to shine. And shine, I don't know what that was. Joel Klatt joining us here in a bit, but if they can protect Baker, keep him healthy, then there should be a really, really nice bounce back, though it will be harder in that division with some of the things that the Falcons did this draft, that the Saints did this draft. So tougher sledding for Tampa. They had to nail the draft, and they did. The other team that I think like improved the most, it's the Bengals, isn't it? And I don't even, it's like, who's calling shots there? Who do I even give the credit to? I don't even know anymore. But Cincinnati did incredibly well. You can't evaluate this draft class without including the Dexter Lawrence trade. That really is part of this. And it's in that draft file, because Dexter, with that 10th overall pick, a huge win. And I love what they were able to do with the picks they did make. Over the weekend, they got dynamic edge rusher, friend of the show, SEC Defensive Player of the Year, Cassius Howell, with their 2nd-round pick. He was as productive as any pass rusher in this entire thing. Tacario Davis out of Washington in the 3rd. He is 6'4", a tall corner to contend with that division. 4.4 speed, very cool skill set. I can't wait to see in that division. And I liked how they were able to beef up the O-line on day 3 as well, because just anything, any fat you could add to that, as close as you can get to a Velveeta cheese block to put in front of that Joe Burrow. I mean, he's the one who put up the Instagram post, "We got better." Was they talking about the guys in the car with him? Who was that, Hamilton? Did you guys see that? We should have that on the show this morning. It made the rounds. Should have.
I did not see that.
It was, so it's Joe. Go to Joe's Instagram story. It's like him. I think it's Jamar and Chase. No, it's Jamar and T back row, and I think it's Gesicki sitting shotgun. And he just wrote, "Got better." And it's like, yeah, you got better. I'm sure you're practicing. We love to see it. Off season when you don't have to. You guys are hanging out. But also, I'm hoping that Joe, who I told you there's a value in saying we're going all in for Joe. Joe, look at these uncharacteristic moves that we're making to make you better and let you cook. It's pretty fun. So they did that with Dexter, and I think that they did get better through the draft. At least half of, you got to check out that picture. At least half the starters. I mean, just because Joe doesn't like tweet, doesn't put up posts like that. You see it now?
Yeah, I see it. Yeah.
Like.
Yeah, it's Gesicki, it's T, it's Jamar.
Yeah. It doesn't. Yeah. Did they do enough on the O-line, though? Never enough.
I mean, I like what they have at tackle with Orlando Brown and Mims, who they invested in a couple of years ago, and adding competition to the interior. They're going to have options. They're going to have more options than they've had in the past, which is important, and you just got to hope somebody steps up and emerges there. But the defense really, really needed fixing, as we know, as rough as it gets, and they did a complete overhaul, which is exciting.
A complete overhaul? Half the starters.
I mean, it's still.
You gave me this note this morning. Half the starters on this defense are different than what they were trotting out week 1 through 18 a year ago, which is fun. And I think a good point that you made in the morning meeting is they do have, and here's this photo. Here's all the offensive guys, right? So they addressed the offensive line a little bit. I like that. Okay, these are a couple happy boys. Taken in the draft, I'm sure, knowing all the picks, sending texts, I'm sure, congratulating the new rookie class and helping them hopefully get to and win a Super Bowl in a world where we don't know what we don't know who the quarterback of their rival. These Bengals fans showing up, by the way, Bengals fans full Bengals gear in Pittsburgh that's a confident ass move. I don't know that I would do it. I would, obviously. But, that's, they loud and proud knowing what they have. The team sort of resonating with, okay, we know what we have, we know what we need. You cannot do more to help the offensive line and pour into the defense. I'm saying they can't do enough. Did they do enough? Sure. I think we're pretty happy. I guess. I don't know. How good does the defense have to be is the real question for me. Do you have to be a world-beating defense? Probably not, because of those 4 guys in the car, And then maybe they add a D-Hop cheap. I'm just saying. I'm still on the D-Hop thing with that. I'm not over that. Do you add Odell? I'm just saying.
And that's the thing that's going to be important to pay attention to now is there's going to be, now that the draft is over and these guys aren't going to factor into the comp pick formula, there's going to be a huge second wave of free agency right now because there are a lot of veterans sitting out there. So between the Bengals and everybody else, it's going to be really interesting to see who adds. And I think there are some real impact pieces still out there.
Can you look up the AFC right now on FanDuel Sportsbook and tell me what their Super Bowl contention value is? Because I'm sure it's quite valuable at this point.
So to win the AFC or to win the Super Bowl? To win the Super Bowl, they are
go back to
plus
SoFi,
25.
slay that dragon, that memory. What a story that would be, huh?
Yeah. So they're plus 2,500, which is tied with the Bears and the Jaguars right now. They're behind the Cowboys, behind the Texans, behind the Packers.
They're tied with the Jaguars to win the Super Bowl? Mm-hmm. What am I missing there? The Jags are tied with the Bears?
Yeah.
I don't know if I like that. I don't think I like that. Listen, I like Jacksonville quite a bit, but do I like the Bengals and the Bears quite a bit more? To win the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
I like that value all day long. Plus 25, what now?
Plus 2,500.
I like it. I like it. They're Super Bowl contenders, and I don't even know. Who are we thinking in the front office, Hammy, before we go to break? It's clearly not Tobin. It's this...
Steve
Steve R. We're going to call him Steve. Steve is I don't know if he's like just taking the torch and saying like, put me in there, coach, and I want to whatever, and like I want to face the cameras. Who's the other guy that? No. Who's the other guy? We'll go to the break. Joel Klatt's here. We know his name. We know what he does. We love his work. He hopefully got a nap in after these 3 days. We're gonna unpack the layers and the levels and the rounds at the draft after this. Now, Ham, who's the other front office guy who all of a sudden is like getting media?
Yeah.
It was somebody that we talked to at owner meetings, but not. It was like it's not the Patriots. Another guy who.
A different team, you're saying?
Yes, not the Bengals. The Panthers.
Brent Tillis.
Brent, yeah. Excuse me? You know? I think the NFL fans would like to know these things. Yeah. But Steve's been doing this thing there for the longest. But Steve was a little more quiet.
Yeah.
And in the background, all of a sudden now we're doing pressers. What's the story there?
Yeah. And we're hearing, Orlando Brown saying he's the one that he went to negotiate his new contract and all of that. So it's interesting. But yeah, Brent Tillis is another good one. He was the big part of that whole building the Chiefs dynasty.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, can we, Cal or Brian, can you guys look up whenever that we tweeted the Orlando Brown thing? I quote tweeted it or embedded it or something, and then a player was like, what are you talking about? Like, I said something like, interesting that Steve is the one he did the deal with, nobody else in that blurry front office. And then there was a player, I don't know who it was though. Oh, it was DJ Reader, I think. Maybe. That was like, that's the man, what are you talking about? And I'm like, what do you mean? We don't know. Nobody tells us anything.
Yeah. And he has an assistant GM title. I think there's somebody else who has an assistant GM title, but they don't have a GM. So
Mercedes Lewis.
Also interesting.
It was Mercedes, what did he write? He clowned on me. What did he write? Can someone read it? I have Joe Burrow's golf
Mercedes Lewis. Nice, that's fun. Wondering what Mercedes Lewis never. I mean, I guess
I know.
Did he negotiate there at some point? His best friend for almost 20 years. Oh wow, there you go.
No, is that really what he wrote, or did he write? Oh, I thought he wrote like, "You better know him." What do you mean? Yeah, why? But we're trotting him out in front of the. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. We're just gonna let Joel go wherever he wants with this first one. Just what was the? Tell Joel. Cal, tell your best friend. Our best friend. Tell him that we're giving him a lot of runway here on this first one. He can go wherever he wants. Does he want to tell you what it is and get B-roll? You should ask him. Joel, what's your biggest takeaway? It can go a lot of ways, but if you can cover him on something, it'd be great.
The Los Angeles Rams select Ty Simpson.
Okay.
Quarterback, Alabama.
Wow. So this is the first big shocker of the night.
That right there, one of my favorite picks, getting to know Ty Simpson a little bit over the week. But here, okay, we've gotten to know through this draft process, Fox Sports College Football NFL Draft Analyst, the Joel Klatt Show. You host that, you do it all. I mean, have you napped? Are you good? Like, what does it feel like?
It was
for
a
you?
long weekend. It was a long weekend, but it's been fun. I thoroughly enjoyed this draft. I thought that there was, like, hey, I thought in the first round there was more teams drafting for need than ever before. Like a lot of teams, I felt like got specific areas that helped their team get better, save for maybe the Rams. And that selection with Ty Simpson, that was certainly interesting.
What do you mean? Why was it so interesting?
I mean, it's like the neighbor that you have that's like, yeah, like, we just bought a third and fourth house. It's like, dang, how much money do you have? It's like rich people problems. All of a sudden, they don't need to bolster the quarterback position at all. And they're a muffed punt away from playing for the Super Bowl. I got multiple texts from people that are Seattle fans and or organization folks that were like, hey, we'd like to thank the Rams for not improving themselves. So like that's the sentiment coming out of Seattle. And it's hard for me to agree totally with that. And this is the reason. And I said this on my show, but if you just viewed the Rams first round as Trent McDuffie, wouldn't you say that was a successful first round?
Yes.
Right. So in their mind, I think Sean was thinking this was house money because Trent McDuffie was their first round player, and he's obviously going to make them a better defense, which they need, obviously, in those shootouts with Seattle, including that championship game. And I know that he was turned on to Ty Simpson really early on in this process. Les Snead is friends with Ty's dad. And so Les turned Sean on to him. Sean has loved Ty Simpson. That body language was all a front, as he's mentioned in other places. He really likes Ty Simpson, but I do know this. He did meet with Matt Stafford day of the draft and made it abundantly clear that this was for whenever Matt decided to step away, and nothing that would be imminent in terms of his planning before that. Okay, let me just there's so much to get into. There's the Simpson angle. Is he a first round player? Yes. He's a really good quarterback. I like Ty Simpson a lot. There's the Rams angle. Shouldn't you improve yourself if you're just that close to a Super Bowl? Mekhi Lemon is stepping out there.
That's the one, right? Really, just sorry to interrupt you, but I'm trying to think of which player.
Yes.
There's a lot of ways we can go with this, but you have to think okay, which player should they have taken that would have gotten them so much closer to winning a Super Bowl that they should have done that instead of planning for a future in a guy that clearly has a lot of traits that they like in a Ty Simpson. It's got to be, the name is Mekhi Lemon, right?
It is, but here's just some other names that I would throw out there. Venga Ioane, best offensive lineman in the draft, he was available. Bain was available. Kenyon Sadiq, best tight end, available. Blake Miller, tackle, available. Monroe Freeling, tackle, available. Mekhi Lemon, wide receiver. Those are the picks that are right after Ty Simpson. So listen, you're not gonna disagree with Sean McVay a lot and win those arguments. Having said that, here's my biggest concern. It's not even any of those things. Here's my biggest concern is that experience is such a key factor for a quarterback to have success in the NFL. I made the point on the NFL Network this weekend. One of the reasons I really love Fernando Mendoza is his career in college is basically the prototype for going in and winning a Super Bowl. The 25 quarterbacks that have won Super Bowls over the 25 years since the start of the century, and quarterbacks that have won the Super Bowl, their average college career is about 34 starts, 1,100 passing attempts, and 70 touchdowns. That's exactly what Fernando had in his career at Cal and Indiana. And Kay, here's Ty Simpson, who didn't start for 3 years at Alabama. So he sat already for 3 years, played 15 games at 15 starts, and now you're telling me you're expecting him to sit for probably 2, maybe 3 more years, which means once we get from his starting, bookends, you're talking about his last year in high school in 21 to potentially starting in the NFL in 2028, 2029, and only 15 starts in between. That's 6 or 7 years of football. And I can tell you firsthand, there is no position in sports that is more important than quarterback, and there's no position like it because you can't replicate it in practice. Like, you have to get game reps to get better, just period. And 3 preseason games are not going to do it. That's my biggest concern, is this extended window where he's going to just be not starting. That's I think what I'm most interested in.
Or sounds like he'll be ready to go. And there's no argument to your argument. To what I heard what you said. I saw it on NFL Network.
Okay.
I mean, he's a first-round talent, right? So then I guess I'm trying to think.
Yes.
And it's not like they have, it's a great thought by you, but it's not like Sean and Les haven't had this thought, right? So I'm trying to think.
Well, and I think Sean and Les probably look at it and they think to themselves, what are the odds that we need a really good quarterback for some amount of time next season in order to win the Super Bowl? Right? Like most teams need a secondary guy. Look at where Denver was last year. It's very rare for a team to go through the entire season and every single meaningful snap is taken by their starting quarterback, right? I think you would agree with that.
Yeah, but if you're planning for the future and you like him and you get him and he's a first-round talent, and like developmentally, he fits like what they clearly love him. That's why they took him.
Sure.
You can set yourself up. It's not about the next 2. It's like for the next 10 years is what we're talking about, right? So if you can set yourself up for the next decade, is it a bad pick?
Sure.
Probably not.
And we won't know if it's a bad pick for quite some time because of the, he's not going to be on the field necessarily unless, let's just hope Matt stays healthy and plays.
I will say they love the backup position a ton, right, Joe? Like they're like, and I'm sitting there with Sean in training camp, and he's going on and on about, he's like, thank you, Kay, for saying Jimmy Garoppolo is the best backup. It's important for us to have the best backup, and like that sort of plays into it. I don't know. It's like hard for me to sort of question, I guess, it's hard for me to like question what they do.
I couldn't agree more. And again, that's why I started with, if you view their first round as Trent McDuffie, you feel a lot different about it. And because they improved an area that needed to be improved. They had a hard time stopping Sam Darnold and JSN in that passing game for Seattle, and they directly improved that area of their team. And then now they set themselves up for the future. So yes, I'm not saying it's a bad pick. We don't know if this is a bad pick or a good pick, and we won't know for a long time.
What do you think? Is this a bad pick?
I wouldn't have made it. I would have shoved the chips in the middle of the table, and I would have taken Mekhi Lemon. And because I'm a big believer, regardless of the sport, I used to talk about this when I did sports talk radio back in the day, that you have to respect championship windows. They're not open for long. And if you don't, all of a sudden they're closed and you're like, wait, what happened? I thought we were in a championship window, and you're not. You don't know how long Devontae is going to play and how healthy he's going to be, if he can give you that productivity that he did a year ago. You just never know when championship windows will just all of a sudden go away. And so when you're clearly in one and it's open, I think that you have to respect that. And drafting for the next 10 years is not in that mold.
I think I'd argue that the team is a lot better than it was last year, and they were so close that maybe that they
should be.
Right, like they add Watson. I think that addresses that signing was
what
good.
happens if Devontae's not healthy, Kay, and all of a sudden you're in the same position and you're down an offensive weapon, and you're like, dang.
You hope it's Max Clare, who you know up close from Fox, who's making some big play. Tell me, right?
That's right.
Would you put it? Why are you laughing? I don't put it past like they added him. You know him. They added a weapon for their passing game, did they not?
No, Max is a really good player, and he is being overlooked because. Okay, so Max transferred in from Purdue, and at Purdue, he played actually for an old teammate of mine, Ryan Walters, and Ryan Walters was the head coach at Purdue, and Max was there, and Ryan raved and raved about Max Clare. I really like Max, and he transferred to Ohio State. Part of the hard part with evaluating Max Clare is that he didn't have the production of, like, let's say, a Kenyon Sadiq or Stowers from Vanderbilt. But that's because they had so many mouths to feed. Remember, you got Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith on the outside. Like, they need the football. And so he's not going to have a ton of production. One thing that I do know is that he's very smooth. He provided them a lot of stability over the middle of the field in the passing game. He can catch the ball really well, and he's a good player. He also increased his ability and value from a blocking perspective last year, because that's something that they really valued. And the Rams are one of these teams, and we saw people emulate this with all the selections of the tight ends during the course of the draft. They can't have too many tight ends because they love to be in 12 personnel, 13 personnel, 13 meaning one back, 3 tight ends. They love that. And so having the versatility of guys that can block, catch the football, that's going to hopefully improve their offense. And you're right. To your point, I think that you're absolutely spot on.
Well, I don't know.
I
don't know what
yes.
I think. Yeah.
Well, you're alluding to the fact that we're overlooking the second-round draft pick, which is Max Clare, and you're right.
I just know you
no
know
one's
him
talking
up
about
close and
Max
personal.
Clare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just look at it like what you're saying about Devontae. First of all, Devontae led the league in touchdowns last year. Devontae could go out there and ball for a couple more years, in my opinion. But
Let's hope so.
If they were worried about it, they'd draft Lemon. Them not drafting Lemon shows you just how much faith they do have in the guys they have, or that they can make adjustments as they go on. DeAndre Hopkins still out there. They've, Odell. They could add if they're, they didn't feel the need, and I trust that. Juwan Jennings is still available, so there is talent at the receiver position. I think that they could go and dabble with.
Sure. Let's see. I mean, listen, if they don't win the Super Bowl.
I know.
then this.
But you
this
think
will
it's like
be
it's going to be like a Makai Lemon pass from, you know, like I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not.
Last time they won the Super Bowl, Adele was in the game and got hurt, and they, you know, like I don't know how I don't know. We'll see.
It's what I think is fascinating is only time will tell.
Yeah.
And in particular, like if Ty turns into a really good quarterback and they have this smooth transition and you go from Matt and all of a sudden Ty's your quarterback, we'll look back on this as one of the great picks in history.
Yeah.
Right. And setting your organization up. If he doesn't, then you'll look back. If he doesn't turn out to be a great player and they don't win another Super Bowl, then in hindsight, 5 years from now, we'll all look back and be like, no, that wasn't the smartest pick.
Yeah. I just think that it's not against Ty. I almost think there's no chance he's not successful. That's the place where I think I could go there and be great. Do you know what I'm saying? Like if you're any quarterback, if you're a quarterback that wants to get traded, if you're a quarterback that's a veteran, like and Aaron Rodgers would probably pay to go play in LA. It's the perfect situation for any, in my opinion, for any quarterback developmentally at the end of on their back nine, a backup Jimmy Garoppolo, whatever it looks like. So like for me, it's like, man, Ty might be set up better than a lot of quarterbacks that were drafted in the last few years and probably the next few years after him.
Well, and we talk about a lot. Ty. We talk about a lot. Quarterback, it doesn't necessarily. It's not all just based on you know, it has to do with the fit schematically, the organization. Yeah, I think that's why some of the guys stayed in college football this year is they didn't love the draft order up top as far as some of the organizations. And they thought to themselves like, yeah, you know, like I'm still going to make $6 million this year. I think I'll stay in school and try to win a national champion. I know it really is. A lot of the second round guys took pay cuts this weekend.
It's wild to think about. Jeremiah Love is going to get paid. He's going to make, you know, all the money, all the happiness, all the touchdowns. The Cards couldn't pass him up. Third overall. No. When you think about him in a Mikey LaFleur offense, how do you envision sort of the balance between rushing and receiving?
Almost 50-50. I think that the running backs that are right now the most effective backs in the NFL have the ability to threaten every single blade of grass rather than just carrying the football. Now, he can do that, obviously, but that's almost like Algebra 1 to then Algebra 2 and geometry and so on and so forth. It's like that's just the prerequisite. Yeah, you can run the football. Now, can you do all of these other things like a Jahmyr Gibbs or a Christian McCaffrey and all these other backs? Bijan Robinson, can you threaten the defense? Can you win a one-on-one? Can we attack with you in the passing game? He can certainly do that. Now the question for them is just like, who's going to be your quarterback? Is it going to be Carson Beck? Is it going to be Jacoby Brissett? I think that's a question. And speaking of good situations, I know the organization hasn't historically been very good, but now you look at what they've done in the offseason and like for instance, if I'm Carson Beck, aren't you pretty excited to go down there and compete for that job? Marvin Harrison, Trey McBride, Jeremiah Love, like that looks pretty good.
I think we have some their draft picks up here. Yeah, I mean, you saying it's 50-50. By the way, they signed Algier in free agency. I like that. There's your, as Cal Filson, my producer, said, a bulldozer. There's your guy there. But I mean, 50-50 is so a little bit insane, right? Like he's going to line up in the slot. He's going to be a slot receiver on my fantasy team.
I think the best ones are like that. Maybe 60 running the football and 40 catching it. But like the best guy, if I were to ask you, like, other than Saquon, who are the most effective, dangerous running backs in the league? It's guys that can catch the ball 40% of the time, threaten out of the backfield, line up. Yeah, exactly. And be like, for instance, Love is absolutely in that mold because he would have been like the third best slot receiver in the draft. Like that's how good he is catching it and lining up out there and what a weapon that would be. And when you get a creative offensive play caller, they can generally utilize those guys more effectively than the stubborn type.
People are sleeping
and so
on
I think that'll work.
I think that's a really, if you're a quarterback, be excited to go play in Arizona. I like that a lot.
You bet.
I think that's a good take there. Do you think Beck plays meaningful games this year?
I think he does. I think he got a lot more mature this last year at Miami, which he needed to. I think he struggled with some immaturity in his career at Georgia, but that changed at Miami. And then he got over the elbow injury. which there was some question about. This time last year, a lot of us in college football thought to ourselves, is Beck even going to be able to throw the football? And he did so effectively. And he played in a ton of big games. I mean, think about the number of big games he played, and he won, 36, 37 games in his career. So he's got it in him. And you provide him with some stability like Miami did, and somewhat at Georgia, although their wide receivers dropped a ton of passes his last year. I think he could have some success. Well, it's a wait and see for me, but it wouldn't surprise me at all if he was the starting quarterback at some point this year.
I really enjoyed meeting ARVELL REESE in person. I like his temperament. I liked everything about how he sort of carried himself and the way he answered my questions. So John Harbaugh said, quote, "We're going to play him at inside linebacker." But I know he's like, "Hi, my name is ARVELL REESE. I'm an edge." So how does it look, in your opinion? How should he be used in that Giants defense?
Well, if you ask Ohio State, he was an off-the-ball linebacker that they used in different areas, right? Like he started next to Sonny Styles. He didn't play edge. That was Kenyatta Jackson and Caden Curry that played those positions on the edge. But then they utilized him in that Matt Patricia defense, and Patricia was creative with him. And they would use him on the interior. They would use him on the edge. He wasn't an edge defender for Ohio State. Now, I think, let me just go down a bit of a rabbit hole here with what John said and playing him off the ball. Is one, it can define a position for him, but also it puts him in a spot where he can be more effective for them in their division. Okay, if you look back at last year, two of his more effective games were against Arch Manning, somewhat mobile, and Damon Williams, one of the more mobile quarterbacks in all of college football, Damon Williams from Washington. And ARVELL REESE was the most effective spy in college football. He did an incredible job shutting down the scramble lanes for those quarterbacks, normally guys that had a lot of success. Well, they're playing Jalen Hurts and Jaden Daniels twice a year, two guys that can obviously hurt you with the scramble. In fact, last year, when you look at the percentage of dropbacks that turned into scrambles, the guy that did that the second most in the league was Jalen Hurts. The top of that list was Caleb Williams, but Jalen Hurts, 20% of his dropbacks turn into scrambles. So if you play ARVELL as an off-the-ball guy that you can create rush lanes for, that you can move down to the edge in certain situations, but ultimately that's where his home is, where he can spy, he can be more effective for you against your division rivals, which I think John Harbaugh knows the value of, just being the head coach of Lamar Jackson. So that's just something I've been thinking about as far as matchup goes within the division.
Really, really well said. I'm going to have a couple more to ask you. If I want to ask you about Pavia. So he became the first Heisman, Diego Pavia, first Heisman finalist to go undrafted since 2014, over a decade. He was invited to Ravens minicamp. You know, there's a world where I saw Pat McAfee say, like, wouldn't this be exactly what the UFL needs? Instead, I thought that was an interesting sort of take. What kind of impact could he realistically build for himself there? I love that from Pat.
In the UFL or as an undrafted free agent?
Well, what do you think? What do you think's the best move for him? Where do you see him?
This is man, I hadn't thought about it from that frame. His best move is probably UFL, because he's just going to be at this point, I hate to say it, but like at best a practice squad guy. Like I went that route. It's hard. I was an undrafted free agent. It's very difficult just to get reps. And yet you could be the focal point of a franchise in the UFL. Now, do you want to do that? I don't. Hopefully I do those UFL games. That would be sweet for the league, and certainly an avenue for him to go out there and potentially have success and get notoriety and continue to be out in the forefront. I think that the fact that he didn't get drafted, I heard that statistic thrown out there a lot about, first Heisman finalist didn't get drafted. A couple of things on that. Number one is that his candidacy as a Heisman was a strong push from like a certain sector of college football media that just really wanted an SEC guy to be in the running. Not that he was he wasn't deserving, because I thought he had a good year. But as we saw in the bowl game against Iowa, it wasn't nearly, top end college football. There's a reason Fernando Mendoza was the #1 overall pick. Like, this guy played incredibly clutch in the most important games and some of the most hostile environments in college football. And then you also have the aspect of distraction, because like it or not, like, Diego is himself. And he's going to tell you how it is. And he's got some interesting social media takes, in particular after the Heisman. That is the one position where in the NFL, they do not deal with distraction. And in particular, if you're going to be a backup. And I happen to think that if he didn't have some of that baggage, if you will, he would have been drafted late. But because of that, and I know people don't like to hear that, but I think that's how organizations think.
I feel like, you're a UFL guy. It's why I thought I'd ask you about it, because I feel like developmentally,
we'd love to have him.
Yeah, wouldn't that be better for him, even just to develop as a quarterback, a leader, mature, whatever you want to say? I'd rather see that than him sitting on a practice squad somewhere. That's how I totally agree with you. Yeah, go to the UFL where you can see you. Hey, I saw that you do a lot of things, obviously, but did you say it was your last draft on the NFL Network desk? What's going on there? Most
likely. I mean, I guess like no one can protect the future, but with the merger, like my place ain't going to let me work for ESPN, and I doubt ESPN would want someone so prevalently on Fox.
What does this mean for you? What?
Well, just for the draft.
I know.
Because I'm loaned out. I'm a loner. They kind of loan me out for the one weekend on the draft. So I don't know. Maybe I'll take my show and cover it as my show. We'll see what happens.
Did you have any feelings about that? I mean, you've been doing that. It's like what was that like for you? Melancholy at all? Yeah, it was. I mean, I'll miss it, definitely. I love working the draft, mostly because I really enjoy working with DJ and CD and Rich. We have such a great time. I'll definitely miss it, but at the same time, it is the way the world turns. I at one point was a minor league baseball player and left that, and then ended my football career. I learned a long time ago, you don't get too caught up and nostalgic about things, because they will change. At one point, Kay, I hosted an audition for you at Fox. Oh, gosh, yeah.
Right? Like, things like this just, happen. At one point, I was a host. Yeah. So, that was...
All I remember about that day
is
an executive handing me, a Starburst. That's all I remember. I remember that somehow. You were so loved. I'm not worried or sad or melancholy. It's going to be exciting to see where you end up, because you have to be part of draft coverage in some way, shape, or form. I'm excited. I'm excited to see what that looks like. Before we let you go,
maybe we'll do a live telecast with our show.
Let's do it together. Jacob Bowman, hand us some Starburst. Let me ask you this.
Yeah, that's it.
Who's the winner for you? The winner from draft weekend. It could be a team, an executive,
I loved what the Jets did.
Okay.
I loved what the Jets did.
Shout out Eisen and a beautiful farewell.
Yeah, and I'm a big fan of what the Giants did. So both New York teams liked what they were able to do. But the Jets in particular, they prioritized production over potential, which I really love. In my world, in the college game, that's paid off for Indiana. So the first round, the 3 first-rounders, Bailey, Sadiq, and Cooper, really like them. Then they get D'Angelo Pons. He was my favorite player in the entire draft. I know that he's only 5'9", but who's going to know how to get the best out of a 5'9" corner? Aaron Glenn, right? That's a perfect fit right there. I love what the Jets did. I think they, from a team perspective, had my favorite draft. Although I will say the most, of course, pick of the first round was Uone going to Baltimore.
Why is that?
It's of course, because he's the nastiest offensive lineman, widely thought the best offensive lineman, but he's not a tackle, so he's a little undervalued. And they're the Ravens, and they just watch these great players slip slowly down the draft, and then they're like, we'll take them. And they raise their hand, and their roster ends up being one of the better rosters in the league. It always happens.
Definitely were my most intriguing going into it, them and the Chiefs. And I don't know this Muji guy. I don't know him. I don't know I've never met him. I never met him.
Yep.
Aaron Glenn, tough to get an interview with. I got to get in there. I got to get in there with those Jets and figure it out.
Got to find a way. By the way,
this will help me. You butter in the butt.
One more quick story about that audition way back when.
Oh, God.
I believe, if I'm not mistaken, you were on the desk. Katie Nolan was on the desk.
Yes.
Does that ring a bell?
Yes, it's when I met
And there was someone
Katie.
else, and I don't remember her name, and I'm not going to try to remember her name, but I just remember that there was another woman on the desk who said it was her lifelong goal to be on the Maximum Hot 100. And we all looked at each other and do you remember that?
Yeah, just like Katie and I. That was our life goal.
We all looked at each other like lifelong goal?
I do remember that. And I don't remember who it was either.
I don't tell you. Well, I remember.
I have some guesses.
I shuffled my papers, and I was like, okay, where do you go with that?
Where did you? I'm sure you handled it expertly. And it's a great goal to have. We appreciate you so much. Joel, you're the absolute best. The Joel Klatt Show on YouTube. Subscribe. I don't know where you'll be, but enjoy UFL. I'm intrigued.
Thank you.
I'm intrigued. I want to get in on this UFL.
Great to see you.
Put in a good word for me over there. We'll see you a little bit down the line.
I love it. Bye.
We'll be back. Bye. So funny. Who was that? Hamilton.
Don't ask me.
This is like way before you came into my life. This was like a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
I remember this now. Can you imagine Katie and I at the same desk?
I can't. That
It was great.
sounds like pure chaos.
This was pre-Katie. Pre-Katie. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do remember that there was Starburst. Executives were handing me Starburst for some reason. I remember having Starburst. I had to be like 12 years old when this was happening. It was a long time ago. And it was Joel. It was Joel at the desk. Sweet Joel.
It sounds like a fun show.
Somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't think it was for a show. I think it was just like
It was just like pure auditions.
Pure something like that. I don't quite remember.
Yeah.
I remember Jacob Ullman being there, like everyone's favorite executive.
Yeah.
And then I was actually just thinking about my NFL network. Like before, Good Morning Football had nothing to do with NFL Network when it was in its inception. But I had a separate like NFL Network something experience, and it was like it'll be like chapter 5 in the memoir. It is one for the books. So funny.
Can't believe this summer it's going to be 10 years.
What?
From the inception of Good Morning Football and all that.
10 years of what? Oh, since it started? Since it came on the air?
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah.
2016, you're right.
2016.
September 20 or August 2016.
Yeah.
It feels like 10 years. Okay. Starting with K on Cam. Oh, I do want to clarify. There's...
Oh, no.
Okay. Maxim 100, who was it? We got to talk to so many of these now NFL stars, impact players, game breakers ahead of the draft. And so I thought that the fan bases, by the way, go to the freaking YouTube page because we did talk to so many of these guys. And I think like 25, something like draft prospects. I mean, you get to know them a little bit. What did your team just inherit, right? Like, who are you rooting for? And I think that we ask really good questions and do a good job of bringing those moments to you guys and letting you in on who these draft picks are, whether they make their bet or not, what their families are like, what they're made of, what they're bringing. So guys, go to the YouTube page, Up and Adam Show. Please subscribe and take a look at some of those. Leave some comments. I'm always in the comments, loving them. I like to live in those comments more than any other medium, so go there. But I did think that, you know, I was just talking to Joel Klatt, Jets super intrigued by, and then it's like such an important Chiefs draft, right? What are you going to do? Set up this dynasty or not? Here is Peter Woods, who truly was a delight, and now a Kansas City Chief.
I pride myself in that, you know, just having that versatility. Every time I, you know, like get on a Zoom with a coach or anything or talk to anybody, they always asking me like, how was it, you know, making the transition from defensive tackle to defensive end? And I just answer with like, that's all I've ever known. Like it never really ever felt like a transition. As long as I've been playing football, I've been playing the whole line. So it's just been good.
Where do you feel most comfortable?
Probably like inside of the 3-tech, but I feel like I do some crazy stuff on the outside that, you know, that people can't do either.
They call him P-Woo. That's what you'll be calling him. And he, I don't know, perfect mentor in Mr. Chris Jones, right? Little co-terrorizing of quarterbacks in the AFC West. They're happy. Chiefs fans happy. Go check out the entire YouTube of that. That was one of Hamilton plugged in with the Chiefs, one of his favorite interviews. Next up, how about safety Emmanuel McNeil-Warren? Okay, hyphenated name. He came on the show and he made a big statement. I heard that you're looking forward to hitting a friend of mine named Derrick Henry. What? Are you crazy?
A little bit crazy. I feel like he's a bigger dude, so you can't be scared to come at him. You gotta bring that power just how he run with power. So I just love the challenge for real. That's how I could be better in order to get somebody bigger.
As luck would have it, the Browns took Emmanuel at 58 overall, so now he gets 2 one-on-ones a year, at least, with King Henry and Hamilton. Probably my favorite thing about him. It's a great interview, guys. Go check it out on YouTube. He has like a fat head of himself in his room.
Yes, that's what was behind him in that interview.
How did we know? That's all. You could have muted everything else. He literally has this. They're not called fat heads anymore, right? But he's got Toledo. He's got like a full human-sized sticker of himself on the wall. And if that is not a safety to root for, I don't know what is, Ham.
Yeah, you got to have that kind of belief in yourself. Love it.
We should have more context in here. Caleb Downs, drafted 11th overall by the Cowboys. Let's take a look at this.
Coach Schottenheimer, he won't like me saying this, but I beat him in
No, he will. He's great.
In putting in his office. He got mad about that a little bit. So I'm a little bit of a golfer, so I beat him at that.
And then Schottenheimer needs to work on his short game. It's okay.
He beat Sonny though. He beat Sonny, so I'm gonna say Sonny needs to work on the short game. Yeah, Sonny needs to work on the short game.
And Roger said, "You are a." He's laughing. It's because I beat you at putt. Shotty, very competitive, very charming, delightful, and yeah, I absolutely love that. Okay, we're gonna take a short break here. We had some Colton. Listen, we had so many guys. We had Fernando Mendoza on the show twice. Ty Simpson on the show twice. Get to YouTube. See that little thing right there? Use your camera. What do you call those things? I don't know. Do that. We'll be back. I have to be so honest. I didn't think that QR codes were gonna last.
Yeah. Why not?
I just thought it was like a fad that I didn't really ever like have to learn, and then like only when I'm like, I got that new TCL and I had to set everything up, and I'm like, man, these are really like, they really stuck around. Although as a menu thing, I won't do it.
Yeah, don't love it as a menu, but for everything else, it's pretty helpful.
I've never used it. Even Richard and I were at the airport. We went to Chili's or something, and I was like, where were we coming from? Richard, where were we coming from? Where were we?
It sounds like a Jacksonville.
Oh, coming back from TPC, yeah. And I was like, I don't use that. I need to see a paper menu. I just asked for it right away. I still get my plane tickets printed out.
That's right.
You know what really was the most stressful experience of the past, like, of the entire off season? As much as I love Newark Airport. I love it. It's new, it's pretty, it is like the Jetsons. you go now. Like you go in no matter what airline you take. I think maybe that's not true. I forget what airline I took. I don't think it was Delta. It might have been United or something. And there's no human beings. I mean, there are, but they're not like human beings that are going to help you. You go and it's fully automated. You know, I'm fine with like the tech of it as long as there's the option of me being an old lady. There was no option of that. There was no person who was going to print, printing out the bet. You lose me. Printing out the bet, I won't do it. I won't do it. Full service, I would pay extra.
It's like the Jetsons, they at least like shoot you through a tube to your gate.
They had but you couldn't get into security without, you have to like show your ticket thing, and then to get on the plane you have to do it again, and there's a human being making you scan it with this gate thing to get onto the plane, and you're like, what is this all for? My parents would fail in that kind of they wouldn't print it. I had to do my own bag tags, I was like, I can't, I won't do it. I don't want to live in that future. I do not want it. There should be options. You want that, fine. But where are like, Barbara and Chester? Where are they going? Where are my parents going in that line?
Yeah.
And I'm with them. I'm rounding up.
Yeah,
I want a printed boarding pass. So Newark freaked me out because it wasn't even on the menu.
Yeah, that can cause some
somebody tries
problems.
to say they won't give me a menu. I'm like, oh, do you have a cheeseburger? Tell me about it. And they're like, and they somehow miraculously find a paper menu to give me. Back on Up and Adams, NBA playoffs in full swing. We have 3 more matchups tonight. Pistons 2.5-point faves at Orlando. Okay, trying to even out the series. Thunder going for the sweep. They are 11.5-point faves at Phoenix, and the Nuggets 11.5-point faves at home, trying to avoid elimination. I was invited to the Knicks game tomorrow night. Not going, staying here in LA, just to be in studio with you guys. If you want to have some fun over on FanDuel Sportsbook, Overlords are offering, this is fun. Thanks, FanDuel. 25% profit boost token on any same game parlay for tonight, as long as it has 3 or more legs, and the odds are plus 100 or longer, so enjoy that. Let me look at the finals odds real quick on our way out here. We'll be back tomorrow. Okay, Thunder, favorites to repeat. Minus 120, Celtics Spurs. Lakers lost last night. Interesting. Rockets, plus 3,300. I saw KD wasn't playing. What's going on there? Luka, he's got to get back, guys. Go use that PBT. Tell me who you think wins. We'll be back tomorrow.